I'm gonna be old school paper girl. That was all.
Alright, so we are recording then?
Yeah.
Alright, this is the Thursday, May 5th safety meeting. Coming to order. In attendance is Chief Delp, Mayor Hughes, Councilperson Shrestha, Koss, and myself, Councilperson McNamara. The major topic at hand is the location of a proposed shelter house near the basketball courts off Ola Vista. So I understand that there was previous concerns about that location. I understand that you were mainly the point person for that, Councilperson Shrestha, or were they mainly emailing you?
I think I was around a lot of it when it first went,
Okay.
and I'm talking about going back even to like the 2020, when.
Quick second. Also in attendance is Village Planner Eric Fisher arriving. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just because I'm close with my neighbors,
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about everything. And I remember them, I was all for the court, I had no problems with it. And I remember some of the residents saying, well, what are you gonna do when this happens and this happens and this happens? And I was like, well, maybe you're just being a little bit older. Well, we're seeing this happen, and this happen. Now, I understand the crime is everywhere, I get that, but we have to do our extra part to keep everybody safe. I think that's the biggest concern. I mean, and these are big time things. I mean, multiple gun calls, multiple fights. The video I sent you guys earlier, that is just one of the videos.
Okay.
And I mean, she's recording that from the park, so you can only imagine having your child going down the slide as this is happening. What I'm saying is, it takes 1 second for someone to pull out a gun. And when a kid is shot, it's too little too late at that point. I don't
Definitely
know if we-
understandable
I don't know if
concerns.
we need to up resources, what it needs to happen. I just want people to feel safe. I think that should be our number one concern.
And do we still have that concern today, even though last year and so far this year we haven't had an issue?
That's what I'd be more interested in, because 2020 I would consider, according to many different statistics, rather anomalous in many ways, shapes, and forms. So I'd be interested in hearing about that as well.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, I think it's too early. I think it's too early in the year, where it's not warm weather.
But what are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to accomplish the fact that, and again, I'm not here to argue, are we trying to talk about putting the shelter there, and what does the shelter have to do with the basketball court? Is the shelter the concern, or is the basketball court the concern? Because as of right now, I'm not aware that the basketball court is going anywhere. So
No,
what
no,
is
no, no.
what is the
That the
conversation?
basketball court is already such a big concern,
Okay.
and you can ask any resident around there, that they're afraid that adding an additional structure without the proper things that they need now, just with the court, is putting them and their children and their homes at risk.
What are the things that they're talking about that they need?
Again, police presence. Police presence was a big thing when we sat down here. I will be the first person to tell you, since I emailed you, I have noticed a big increase in police presence.
Okay, so it sounds like the issue is being addressed.
When we're taking a walk, I have noticed that personally. I will definitely say that.
The police department is at full, and it has been for a while, they're at full staff.
And it's bad. You have fathers with 3 of their sons. One instance, a guy came over and was peeing in the trees. I'm talking genitals out in front of children at a park. He walked up to him. Again, you go to jail for some stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You should not be allowed back on the property. Mm-hmm. He was told, pull your pants up, this is our neighborhood, and get out. He lifted up like this and had 1 9mm and 1 9mm. The cops were called. This was Scott and Melissa Brookshire. They have 0 issues with their name on the record. Go ahead.
Cops were not called.
They said they were called. And see, that's one of my questions. I wanna know our procedures.
He told me the story, I said, did you call us? And he goes, no.
Yeah, cause they were here that after that.
And I'm
We were
like,
talking
what,
about it.
why didn't you call? And I can't remember the answer he gave, because at that point I was starting to doubt his story.
Well, I think at that point, I thought he called, first off, let me clarify that. I think at that
The
point.
fight they did,
And
well,
their,
the fight they did.
and their exact words were, we called so many times and nothing happened. I sat down here at this exact table with you and you. And said that we would have increased police presence, they addressed their concerns, videos was shown. And they didn't see anything. They don't always wanna be the ones calling either, you know, you don't wanna be that person.
So in 2020, that basketball court, we couldn't close it because it was private property. It was stolen
We
by
understood
MI,
that.
and then we asked MI, and as good as they were with working with us, they just had no,
Right, right.
they had no issues with leaving it open. In fact, they kind of wanted the traffic to help kind of solidify the idea of that area in conjunction with the MI development. So, it was the only basketball court open for probably about a 10-mile radius in 2020. And, it did bring in an element of people that were putting in some nefarious activities.
And
Once-
pushing out residents off the court.
Once that increase was noted, we stepped up both traffic enforcement and presence. We also started engaging with the kids that were there, explaining to them that if they like the basketball court, this all stuff has to stop, otherwise this will be a tennis court. And do you guys like tennis? And they're like, no. So they're like, then you guys need to clean up after yourselves and get these people out of here. But by the end of 2020, the problems had resolved. We didn't have, it spiked, we reacted, and we solved it. In 2021, we only had 3 calls to the basketball court, which
Can I ask-
were juveniles there after dark.
I remember some of those. I need to ask a question just to clarify, and I think this will all help us too if we understand the process of what happens when someone calls us now. Because when you get a call, say it's at Alder Vista and it's at the playground, or say I call you and I'm over by the lake calling you about the playground. Does that all come in as one call? How does that locate, does that make sense?
All
I know I'm not
come in as one
saying it the right way.
Like if you call in and say, there's an issue at the basketball court, it's gonna register as the basketball court call
Right.
when he pulls up basketball court. So whether you're calling from standing right here, if you call and
And say,
say,
hey, there's an issue at the basketball court.
it's gonna
We
register
get
the basketball court.
dispatched to the basketball court.
So how is there only 3 calls when I know I called 3 times personally and I have 4 other neighbors saying they called at least 4 or 5 times?
Yeah,
Where's the calls at? Do you see what I'm saying?
In 2021.
In 2021. In 2021.
I'm telling you, we only had 3 dispatches.
So that's what I'm saying.
Are
Does
they
when we
say- are they-
call,
are
do
you
we have to say
calling-
we're Minerva Park, we need Minerva Park?
No, are you
What the
calling and
proper-
saying that there's speeders and you're not actually asking for service? Are you,
Yeah, because if you call and say, hey,
there's,
something's going on over here, can you check it? And they just say extra 3-5 in this area, that's not a call for service. They're just gonna go drive through the area and make sure that there's
See,
nothing
that's
going on.
what I'm worried about is
So
the calls
when
not
I'm
getting.
talking about calls for service is when we have a crime or some other issue in progress and the officers go there and take some sort of action.
Well, I know there's
Dispatch.
multiple times at the basketball court, and again, I don't wanna say 2021, I don't want, because I'm speaking on behalf of me now. It might have still been 2020, but there was multiple times where I was even present and the cops never showed up. I know that. Now, when we're talking about crimes, Joshua Mowing, March 30th, he called, you guys showed up, he was shot 4 times, mowing someone's lawn, he was shot 4 times with a pellet gun. You guys showed up and asked him, well, what do you want us to do? Did you get the name of the guy? And he goes, I'd like to place a report, well, we can't do that.
Well, I'll let
Now,
you.
now, again, this is what I've been told.
Okay,
So at
but I'm
that
gonna,
point,
I'm gonna make a
asking-
comment, and I, only because I actually know what that situation is, that had zero to do with the basketball court.
He
That,
said they were coming from the basketball.
they weren't coming from the basketball court, because I actually saw the video that they were across the street, in the other development, and it was on my kids'. I know exactly who it was, I know what they were doing, it was definitely not from the basketball court.
So did we get a tag number?
So,
What about our phone
I
numbers?
don't know, they don't have a tag number, and Tanner didn't know, but it was on his Snapchat. It was kids that he knew of from on Snapchat, and they were in the neighborhood next door.
Again, that's how kids get shot.
Well,
I mean, that's how
but it
kids
had
get
nothing
shot.
to do with the basketball court, I do know about that.
Okay. so-
Okay, that's fine.
Had nothing to do with the basketball court, those
again,
kids
I'm
have
just-
never been to the basketball
I
court.
know just
According to
what I'm
Tanner.
told. But why at that time was they told we can't place a report, there's nothing we can do? Did you catch them? Isn't that what the flock cameras are for? I mean, that's a serious thing.
But I'm not aware that anybody called the police on that, because somebody.
I saw the phone record. I saw the
Yeah, that I
actual
don't
phone
know.
record.
All I know is
And
somebody
that's why I'm
texted me
asking.
about it.
Chief, can you speak to that, and Councilperson
No,
Cost, you
can't
had
speak
something to
this
say after
because
that?
This is the first I've heard of it.
Yep. Myself
All I
as
know is
well.
somebody texted me about somebody, and I told them to call the police.
He called it 304. I saw and I mean, he would be
Which number
happy.
did he call? I mean, do we have an answering problem? Do we have a?
That's what I'm trying to
We have a
understand, the
triage
procedures.
problem.
No, I believe somebody showed up.
Our Franklin
I'm
County,
almost positive an officer showed
an
up.
officer did show up, an
Yeah.
officer did
Yeah.
show up.
There
Did
was a
they
call.
refer them to Columbus Police?
No, he was right on Alder Vista. And the cop supposedly,
But if
again,
they were in another neighborhood shooting?
I saw
they
pictures
shot him
of
on Alder
kids.
Vista.
So there's a TikTok Orbeez, it wasn't Snapchat, it's a TikTok Orbeez challenge. It's not a pellet gun, it is a
Okay,
gel.
I know what it is now.
It's the Orbeez TikTok challenge, and they were all over TikTok that day. And I asked Tanner if he knew who it was or what it was. He said he didn't know, but it was on TikTok.
Challenges.
What's an?
Yeah, I don't know, it's a TikTok
Orbeez are these
Orbeez.
little,
They're
like,
Orbeez guns.
Has to be up on trends.
foamy, squishy, like.
That's why I
moist
know that
balls
had
that
nothing
you
to
can-
do with the basketball court, because they were all out running around in different areas,
Can I look
and
this up? Is
it's a
that all right?
TikTok Orbeez challenge.
Is it weird?
I have a
to say I wanna see it?
17-year-old.
So
boy.
my
Kids these
understanding,
days.
yeah, so my understanding of, again, this is all just for the record, to just enter it into the record, my understanding of the police dispatch system is someone calls 911 and the dispatch system for Columbus or Franklin County dispatches down to the most local law enforcement, in our case being Minerva Park Police or the Franklin County Sheriff. Would that be a correct way to describe how that works?
Yes.
I figured, I just wanted to.
And they
Get
don't
that.
have to clarify that they're calling from Minerva Park, correct?
If they call 911, or if they give their address, then the dispatchers put that into their system, and it shows up that that's Blendon Township, Minerva Park. and
Right, that's what
they
I
will
was,
send
that's what I was
us.
assuming. I just wanted to clarify it.
I've called and I've like specifically said like, hey, like this is the dispatch number, but I'm looking to like, cause I live in Minerva Park and it seemed to go through correctly. That's my experience.
Okay, so I guess those things aside, does it seem, is there, again, we can say what it looks like, we can say what it feels like, but is there any data to suggest that 2020 was anything but an anomaly and that this wave of antisocial behavior has continued into 2021? Is there any indication that that
I
would
say
be
give it-
happening?
I say give it 4 months.
Well, in
Hold on,
2021, we continued our presence down there, we continued the engagements, we continued the traffic enforcement in those 3 to 5 hours right after school. During the summertime, it was typically in the evenings when the larger crowds would show up, we just go down there and just sit there and run traffic on the stop sign, the 4-way stop right there, or the 2-way stop. And that presence kind of just spoils the milk.
Okay.
The people that are down there creating problems weren't coming around anymore because they were going where it was easier to engage in those activities like peeing in the bushes and throwing flashing guns. So we didn't experience the violence that we experienced in 2020.
Okay,
So going forward, we have no plans to change that type of action. Again, at summertime, we will continue to put the police presence down there because they're not used to they're not used to the playgrounds being patrolled, by a police department. The basketball courts in Columbus, those officers are going call to call and don't have time to just go and sit on those courts and make people behave. So,
Okay. So it sounds like there's an adequate plan in place to deal with potential antisocial behavior, we'll say, going into the future with or without a shelter house.
correct.
Well,
Okay.
here's only, my question is it getting expensive to just have a police officer there? Would it be a little bit more technologically advanced, cost effective to just put a camera there?
Well, cameras are okay for after the thing, but, you know, to Councilman Shresta's point, we want to prevent the things rather than react and investigate them later.
Do you feel that a camera would be preventative?
Deterrent.
Yeah, is
At all.
that a
It
deterrent?
can be, especially if you put the signs up that, premises under video surveillance.
By police
um,
department?
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
just, it's like there's an alarm on this house sign in front of your house. Those placards are there because if I'm a burglar and I see the sign, I see a
It's gonna
house
let you
without
know.
a sign, I'm gonna go to the house without the sign. So, of course they deter. Will they prevent anything?
We can put the
Perhaps.
sign up.
Perhaps.
I mean, but in,
Yeah, why can't we just put up?
You wanna have-
I mean,
you wanna
most
have
those-
a real camera.
what?
You wanna have a real camera for putting the sign up.
100%.
Because those folks are no dummies completely, they will look for your camera.
Yeah,
And,
And find it if it.
And hopefully
if
we don't
something
need it.
happens, if something
Yeah.
happens.
Then you have it.
It's like, well, you
That's
guys
it.
have cameras, and I'm like, I know, we don't, we just got signs, and they're like, well, whose stupid idea was that?
It's bad.
We'll be like,
No, it's a good suggestion, dummy
Effective.
cameras are used in certain situations.
we had one in a
With
real estate
with real
office.
cameras, because certain stores or places they just can't monitor them all, they use them to deter certain aisles or something like that. But this is a little bit different of a situation. right?
Understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, the risk is higher if there's a camera, right? So would you put yourself under that risk? How much does a camera cost?
Cameras aren't expensive, right? It's
How much is electricity to run a camera there?
not expensive. Most of these cameras that we can get today are high def, and they can see at night, and they have all the features, and they're not expensive cameras, under $1,000 for a camera like this, right? You put it in a bubble, you can do all kinds of nifty things with the tech now. They can be linked back to the cruiser cars, there's all kinds of tools that you can put in the hands of, now on the phones too, right? So, the chief can check them, the mayor can check them.
Can we put it on the website? I wanna
We
watch
can do
the
that,
game.
we've
Well,
done that in different
that would be
municipalities.
cool.
We've done that in different municipalities, there's pluses and minuses to it, it's a discussionable point. Sometimes, you use them, you sometimes have a camera designated for, more for public usage, and it's not necessarily the high quality camera you use where you can control it and stuff like that. ODOT puts its cameras up, for example, as you can see on the
Yeah.
left, but there are other cameras not put for public use. And so that's a discussion point with the chief and the officers and how we set it all up at the end of the day, right?
It'd be
What
nice
would
to know
say
a mother
people-
could check if her son was down at the basketball court though.
Well, and
Good
that
apps
was,
for that too.
there
You
was,
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jason was talking about that at the pool, like if somebody wanted to keep an eye on if their kid was there or this or that or whatever, and, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No,
not at the
it-
pool.
that's-
No,
No,
there's
no.
different, yeah.
Trust
it was
me,
the
I
same-
know.
It was the same
That was
thing,
my thought.
you have a splash pad, because it leads to certain individuals with antisocial behavior that are checking it for not cool stuff. Right,
Correct.
so we don't make those public as an example.
I would only caution everybody thinking, depending on live streaming, something like the cameras and this and that, the flock cameras had people
Yeah.
coming unglued. And
I
this
admit
is
to being one of
definitely,
them. I still don't love the idea of cameras everywhere.
yeah,
Well, it's for specific purposes, and they're useful. I mean,
They are useful.
we've installed them in different cities that I've worked in, and I've overseen certain projects with cameras, and they're helpful. We've had
Right.
vending machines damaged, and there's a camera at the top of the gazebo that catches the dummy taking a crowbar to the vending machine, right?
Right.
Those kind of things happen. We have a skate park to watch over. Cameras are useful. They prevent certain behaviors, and they help the police at night when they can't see them because there's an infrared involved. There's pluses and minuses to all this stuff, but generally there's a larger positive. And in this case, since we're putting up shelters in the plans, there will be electricity. It's a cheap way since the shelter's already going in. In other situations, we've had to build a pole. We've had to specifically build stuff for the camera that gets into the tens of thousands of dollars just to put a pole up just to watch like a skate park, because there's no good shelter nearby where you can get a good angle on, say, stuff that's happening in the wood line, below the park area. So you have an opportunity with,
So we can incorporate it
Yeah.
into the construction plans.
for example,
But what,
Okay.
that makes sense, but what do we say to the people who I doubt are in an insignificant number, who just don't wanna be on camera? They're not necessarily bad
it's
people.
public space.
I
You- you-
understand
you
that.
put a camera, whenever you're filming stuff, you put a sign up and it says, this area is under surveillance. People who don't wanna use it, won't use it.
Don't.
The
And I
public
would-
space is all open, public.
I know this is a dumb comment, but I would almost veer to say you're under surveillance if you're at the basketball court anyways, because you probably have 2 or 3 cameras
Yeah.
at those houses right around
Yeah.
there.
walk in front of
Everybody's
my
got
house.
rings nowadays.
Everybody's got them, so my opinion, I mean, this would be for us for different purposes, but
It's specific.
Okay,
I don't love the idea, but I understand it.
so, what if I play devil's advocate, and what if I say I feel indifferent about a shelter there? Like, it doesn't excite me, like, it doesn't offend me, it's just, meh.
So,
Like, is it definitive that we're putting a shelter there?
So here was the background behind it. We spent over a year in planning and zoning talking about shelters in different locations.
Okay.
This seemed to be the only location that made sense.
Okay.
We used, it's not that this could be the
for a
only
cost-effective
shelter
point.
for cost effective points, and the reason behind it is, think about going to a park in Westerville. When you go to a park in Westerville, there's a shelter house right next door. 99% of them
Metro
have
parks,
it,
any
because
parks
any
have
metro
it.
parks,
Yeah, they have it.
that's what is there, because
You use them.
your kids are playing at the playground, you have a birthday party or something like that, then the kids are over playing or whatever. Having a shelter house in the middle of nothing is for what?
Yeah.
It's
I
a
mean,
waste of money.
It's a waste of money, because what are the kids gonna do when you're at the shelter house? It's used, most people use shelter houses for small birthday parties in the summer, a
Picnics.
graduation party, you know,
Elderly to get out of the sun when they're watching their
something to
kids.
get, yeah, something to get out of the sun.
Very
That's what a shelter house is for. I mean, it would be used for MPCA for some of their events when we do like, we had to go and set up all these
Easter
tents.
eggs, yeah.
Instead of going and setting up all these tents, we actually have somewhere to put the food. So it's useful for not just Little Billy's birthday party, and I use that example every single time, or most of our different events. When we start doing like construction here, that's gonna be the only place that we're gonna have for arts in the parks and different things like that. So they use their, you get it, I mean, they use all of their Easter egg hunts and all that kind of stuff. They would actually be able to store these things if the weather wasn't absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
So the whole point behind over there versus like at the pool. The pool's only open 3 months out of the year. You don't have you're gonna have a parking issue anytime you do certain things.
Okay.
And what's there? If you do a shelter outside of the pool, what's the purpose of going to use a shelter there?
There wouldn't be.
There's
I like
no
the
park,
idea.
there's no slide, there's nothing for the kids to do. So the whole purpose of a shelter house is to have it where it makes sense. And it makes sense, like, you know, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, we're just looking at every other park has a shelter house.
It's a secondary use to the primary uses, if you think of it that way, right?
I understand.
Some people will make it primary, but the fact is that it sits there and supports your other nearby uses.
And there are many people that do think it's a great idea. So not just because some people don't like it because of the issue with the basketball court or the perceived issue with the basketball court. There's a lot of people that do want something to be able to use in,
I would also offer that if there's more adults around,
Yeah, that's what I was
there's
thinking
less
too.
criminal activity.
Right, like there's more people using the shelter, yeah.
Because you have people that are gonna pick up the phone and call, like the woman called when the fight broke out,
oh yeah.
you know, and everybody showed up. So.
I would see it as a net benefit to the
So-
community.
But when we talk about residents being involved and they having, I mean, there's not one resident that I talked to that is in favor of it, not one.
But they weren't in favor of the basketball court either, and there's a
This is
lot
two
of.
separate things though.
But
they're interrelated.
there's 2,000 residents, and you can't say we're just gonna, because of the 25 people that don't necessarily want it.
But the 25 people, their homes are right there. Their homes are right there. A stray bullet's gonna hit their child.
Do you wanna know how
So-
many people didn't, yeah, but do you know how many people that didn't want their golf course to disappear?
Yeah, 1,000.
I mean, things change, and that's just the way that it is, and I'm not gonna bring my own personal experience, I mean, there's,
But we should listen to those residents. and
you
vote.
can, you absolutely can listen to
You have a
them.
right to vote as the representative for council on any of these projects. That's your duty. We present to you the facts of the pluses and minuses for any of these particular things. The fact is a number of people on P and Z went through this, both elected and non-elected folks, to make a recommendation to council, and that's what's been determined at this point,
So
so,
who from former council was involved?
well, there are multiple people involved.
Tony.
So Tony was
Tony
involved.
Tony was not involved, I have an email saying,
What?
well, that's hard to believe.
Tony went to every single field
When
trip
you're
over there.
non-record,
Tony
since we're
voted-
recording,
Tony
I
voted
don't
on
know,
it.
I
Tony, at the
cannot
end of the
take
day-
Tony's word
Yeah,
for
so
what
Tony
it
was
is.
there.
I'm not
So-
making public record.
At the time, he was the liaison to council on P and Z, like it or don't like it, Tony
I
was,
said it.
Tony was on P and Z for a good year. Tony voted, well, let's put it this way, Tony voted, Tony wanted a shelter, then Tony wanted a shelter in a different place. Tony was favorable for the shelter, didn't like the shelter, was chosen, wanted the shelter somewhere else. So Tony, but at the
So
end
he
of the
was
day,
involved.
he was
Oh, he
involved.
was
I was
absolutely
told he
involved.
wasn't involved
No,
at
he
all.
was involved.
He was involved
He was
in
on
every
PC.
single meeting for over a year
Yeah.
about the shelter, but
Yeah.
it wasn't just the shelter, pickleball, like all
Yeah,
of the
there's a lot of
general
projects.
green space,
Yeah, a
yeah.
lot of projects, that was an ancillary to the green space discussion, right? So it started several years ago with the green space discussion, in which we had multiple council members, multiple members of P and Z, and the two
Aside
different mayors.
from Tony, who else?
Well, prior to
Grady
Tony.
was there,
So-
Beth
Yeah, so going
McFarland.
back.
But those aren't
if-
council
If we go back, if we.
Oh, no,
go-
there's only one in
those are
council, myself.
at-large members, yeah. So you have Tony, prior to Tony was, woman, what was her name? Beth, Elizabeth, I can't remember, she was.
Jen?
No, Beth,
Beth McFarland.
No,
no, the other Beth.
another Beth.
Oh,
She predated Tony.
She was the,
She
was
took
the one
over
that-
after Michael Braun.
She was the one that resigned because of,
Tony.
yes,
okay, he'll say it.
I'll say it, yeah.
That was the reason
Um,
I was
Beth,
gonna say dis.
on council, and they gave Tony,
Yes,
they gave
correct.
Tony a chance, and it was what it was, you know, he got his chance, and it was on P and Z.
so no, planning and zoning is only myself, one person from council, and the rest are all residents.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so there's 3 at-large residents who speak to this, who serve, that's the purpose of it, right, under the state statute.
So Donna, Lisa,
Yeah, they were on there, and then we had a bunch of non-advisory, non-voting
John.
members for a while,
Yeah.
too, once we intermixed. So we actually had more than 3 resident at-large.
But on the other hand, you said just
Yeah.
a little bit ago that we can't take it and stop it for 25 residents, but you're doing it for 3 residents?
I don't understand the logic. of what
You
you're
had
saying.
3 residents.
Those are
So-
people who are
So you're
appointed.
assuming that that's everybody's perspective, same
I
perspective?
don't assume anything. When we put the basketball court in, or when MI was putting the basketball court in, we heard from probably about 100 to 150 residents, and many of them showed up in a negative fashion to P and Z.
I would, yeah, I
Yeah.
would know, I
And
know
many
they
of them
showed
spoke
the
in
meetings
ways
as well.
that I would say was probably some of the darkest times I've been on any particular commission. And so,
That sucks.
yeah, so,
We know
yeah,
what
it was
you're
very unfortunate, but that's what came. And though some of those people lived over there and they spoke in terms that were, I find, very unacceptable. And so that lowers their opinion in my view, as your planner. So, because of what.
But you're not here to
color.
give your opinion.
I am here to give my opinion, my professional opinion.
Okay, hold on,
You're here to give
hold
your
on,
professional
hold
Give my
on,
professional opinion.
okay,
hold on,
so,
that's it, okay, I have more questions, are you ready, hold on. How much is this shelter gonna cost, is there a better thing that we can come up with that may be a better option? I think Brady should come and talk too, because like.
I think we should allow residents to step in, and so you guys
residents
can
are more
make their
than,
concerns.
so here's how it works, so here's the process at this point, and this is kind of where I'm at, and I'm just gonna be blunt. I'm gonna bring it to planning, I'm gonna bring it to council, there's 6 voting members, they were all voted in, people can come in and talk during a council meeting.
One of them
And
lives
you
right
guys
there.
will all, yeah, you guys will all be able to, between Brian, Mark, and everybody, and if council chooses not to move forward,
Yeah.
my job, this is my view, my job is, I spent over a year going through options and doing all of that. I'm not using it, I'm not sleeping in it, it's not my house, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. I will tell you that I met with residents yesterday, not for this reason, but in a different location for something else, and all of them are they were actually dumbfounded by the conversations that we're having. They were all in total support of it. So it depends on who you wanna talk to.
Park
So
session.
at the end of the day, council's gonna have the ability to vote for it. My job is gonna bring it to you, it's gonna be around $50,000. The money that would be used from Parkland Fund, because it's actually increasing our parkland. So it would be
Wonderful.
something that we would use for that, so it's not that we're using general fund or anything like that. Are there other options? Yeah, the thing to remember is, and Eric, correct me if I do say this wrong, but those pieces of land were given to Minerva Park as part of the MI development to develop, in my opinion, 4 parks.
That is what the.
And that's what we are doing. This was not for the guy, and the guy, we've not spoke to the guy. This isn't for him just to have an extra piece of land, who, the fortunate guy that bought that.
Yeah.
It is for us to develop 4 parks.
For an active. park,
For
is
some
correct.
sort of, something, if everybody decides we wanna put a tennis court over there, more power to you. But this is something that we've worked on, that was expressed from people that they would like to see done.
And at the same time, we are elected at large. As much as it'd be interesting if there were hypothetically districts or wards for Minerva Parks, village council, 6 wards or whatever, we all represent the same people. And I mean,
Such a small,
there doesn't seem to be any legal, I can't imagine there's any more legal weight on the opinions of people who are close by versus far away. I may not personally agree with that, but
Right, I think you have to
You know what I mean?
the biggest thing that it's taken me to realize is there's
Oh, no,
roughly.
their say don't override, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm just saying that they're the ones that's gonna be the most affected, that's what I meant by that.
yes.
If something does go wrong.
So I have a funny story.
To clarify.
So when I first started, there was, with the former mayor, there was an interesting thing that happened. And I think it's very Minerva Park, coming to full circle to this conversation. So, mayor was going to put down at the time, Mayor Lynn was going to put down a picnic table. I don't know if you were here for that, but it may have predated you a slight bit. And the picnic table caused a whole bunch of shenanigan, hubbub, and hollering from people. And it surprised me because I'm like, but it's a park. And it's the same thing when we have a park, because people at that time said, oh, the big table's gonna cost this, and so I'm like, what is happening? It's the same type of deal. We have a park, we wanted to make an active park. It's not just a piece of accessory land. Part of parks are trees, area pathways, right? Benches, shelters, and activities, whether it's fields, soccer, baseball,
shuffleboard.
football, things like that. Those are the things that make up active parks. If we want a passive park, we can just turn it all into green space meadows and things like that. And part of that green space planning was for that purpose. You have active portions of the park, because they all blend together, just like when you walk through a metro park. You have pathways, you have shelters. And when you have city parks, you have a combination of activities that you play, pickleball, tennis, basketball, all of these things to help the populace as a whole be more active in some form and to enjoy the green space. There are many benefits to having intermixed active and passive green spaces within communities, not just concrete and, asphalt and wood and stuff like that. So it's important from a perspective standpoint, I think, it's very Minerva Park to want to propose something that I think in the regular world is quite normal, and then there's an uproar about it. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Whether it's a bench or whether it's a shelter. So,
But they're entitled to do that,
of course they are.
Yeah.
and
But-
that's what we're here
But
to
it's a park
deal with.
at
So,
the end of the day.
I mean,
so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I guess, did you have anything else you wanted to bring up to this meeting? I thought there was some like officer or something or other you were talking about the last meeting, or?
You know what, I talked to Chief Dell about that,
Okay,
and
okay.
that was actually kind of hammered out.
Okay.
Again, I want to know the procedures of what happens when we call, that way we know if there is a disconnect, where is that disconnect happening, because we need to fix that.
Okay, so I guess to be a good steward of everyone's time, I guess the summation of this discussion has been, there were issues in 2020, 2021 has not demonstrated a similar level of issues, 2022 we'll have to see, however, there are options that we can do to mitigate that, be it police presence or, God forbid, a camera in the shelter house. And we will be presented with it for an up or down vote. Does that sound like a fair summation of what everything was discussed?
Yeah.
Information.
I have questions about the crimes happening on the periphery of Minerva Park, and do we need to talk about that? Are we concerned about that? Etc.
This would be kind of a roundtable discussion at this point. The major point of discussion has been discussed, I would say. So if there are other things for Chief, I think now would be an appropriate time if we're not,
If
unless you have
everybody-
something to add.
Yeah. Do you have things to add?
I got 4 items, well, 3 now.
Oh, yeah, you do have,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
Chief
keep
did say,
going.
yeah, the few items that he
We
wanted to
covered
address.
one already, so,
Alright,
but,
By all
you
means.
know, do you want me to go, or do you wanna talk about?
Yeah, then we can do a
No,
little round
you
table thing
do
at
your
the end.
thing and then I'll make
Okay.
the answer.
So just so you guys know, we'll pass those.
Thank you,
around.
sir.
Thank you.
Okay. July 1st, 2022.
Oh, this is, yep.
The fireworks law in the state of Ohio is changing.
Look at that date.
We need some guidance from council as to what we wanna do in Minerva Park. Right now, the ordinance in Minerva Park says that, you know, you can't shoot off fireworks, and typically we go around and we confiscate a bunch of fireworks during the,
I was gonna say, do the residents of Minerva Park know that?
during the holidays, when we can, you know, I mean, it's.
When they're
Yeah.
going off here, here,
It's sometimes difficult to determine if it's coming from that neighborhood over there or coming on from Wildwood.
Yeah.
And so you go over there when you hear them, you know, we take the ones we catch, right? But July 1st, 2022, they're gonna have all these listed holidays will be permitted to have private use, not commercial grade, but civilian grade fireworks, bottle rockets, Roman candles, I don't know what falls into those categories. But if you can buy it, you can pretty much shoot it off. So, either we have to change the ordinance to reflect that, the state law, or there is a provision in that law that says municipalities have the right to say no fireworks at all.
No fun for you.
So, if you do that, you're gonna have to, there's gotta be a change to the ordinance. And we'll probably have to, you know, get Jesse involved in some point here, because it's gonna have to reflect that the village is, using this section of the state law, which states that municipalities can limit the amount of fireworks going on. I don't know how to use it.
I mean, I guess I would suspect that we would provide for, you know, obviously what is in the state law, but I would,
State law's a little liberal on fireworks, and I like fireworks. Is that
Yeah.
your assessment?
The residents, a lot of the residents do not.
Yeah.
What's
the-
your
lot of the
recommendation
residents
based
do
on the
not.
amount of calls you get about fireworks?
100%.
Is this a lot of work?
Well, it's the village, so the majority of the people in the village know that there's no fireworks here, so it's typically, new people that have moved in from elsewhere, and it's the 4th of July, and by gosh, I'm gonna celebrate, you know, the Declaration
What
of
was
our
that?
Independence by
How to
blowing
go?
something up.
How did it
So,
go?
so,
It's not on here.
honestly, we do what we do. It's really up to you guys to decide, and then we will then act accordingly. What we need though, you have to make a change one way or the other, because I don't wanna get stuck in a position where the 4th of July, no, actually,
You gotta start getting readings.
Juneteenth.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's July 1st when it happens, so Juneteenth.
So it's like, that's not,
Yeah.
so
Weekend
July
before.
4th is the first one.
When the
yeah.
4th of July shows up and everybody in town goes,
It's legal.
it's new, it's legal.
Yeah.
And we haven't changed it to say it's
Not here though.
regardless of that law or in accordance with this section of the state law, not here. And if I don't have that, my guys won't be able to, because they're gonna go state law. And if
Yeah.
we cite them, they're gonna come to mayor's court and they're gonna go transfer, and it's gonna go to Muni court, and Muni court's gonna go state law, see you later. So we basically would be legalizing fireworks.
Yeah, and actually under the law, it starts, you can fire them off soon, just several days before July 4th.
Yeah, it's the weekend before.
I would be, I don't know, is every one of these days,
Here's what you guys aren't gonna like my answer.
What's your answer?
They're gonna do it regardless.
I
So
know,
it's
I
a matter
know.
of how much time do you want our officers to invest in trying to catch the person on Wildwood versus the person over in Northam Plaza.
That's exactly it,
So
because
we
they're
don't
gonna
like
do it.
Residents don't like it,
You can
but
make it-
you can hear
make
it from
a
right there.
window, a window that's reasonable.
That's what I'm thinking,
So something between like 9 and 10:30, give them an hour and a half on the 4th, and
July 4th, not 4 weekends
Yeah,
after
yeah.
July 4th.
give them a window to celebrate.
well,
So-
I would give them, if
I
they,
would 100%, I
I'm
don't
bringing
think we
this to you
should.
guys
Yeah.
because you guys really need to.
yeah, we have to act on
And
this.
here's,
get
Diwali,
moving.
I would push on that, Diwali, that is exactly how they celebrate.
Yeah, that's-
So they're
But
going to do it
again,
anyway.
a window.
Okay.
I would put a window for everything.
I have a question. How safe is it to fire off fireworks with all these old trees around
The
here?
trees and leaves and everything.
Yeah,
that's
sounds
not-
like a-
Probably
It's
not.
problematic if it's not wet.
That sounds like a fire hazard to me, so that's
Yeah.
my answer. That sounds
Well, and
like,
that's,
no, thank
that
you.
would, if you go to the,
Well,
I'm
we're not
sure if
gonna
you go
stop.
to the Fire Chiefs Association, of Ohio, they'd probably tell you the
Don't
same
do it.
thing, because that's,
right,
you know, that's what, and I think I remember, because in the unincorporated areas, I've had friends who put on fireworks shows because it's legal out there. But they had recommendations depending on what the drought season was to either not,
Be able to or not.
yeah, and so, you know, maybe it's one of those things that in our ordinance, we can put something that
If there's a declared drought or something like
yes,
that.
you know, there's ways around that.
Yeah, that'd be
you know.
fair, if there's a declared drought, I mean,
But I just wanted to bring it to your attention,
Okay.
because it's coming, it's gonna
Yeah.
go into effect, and we would need to get something in the works by,
Soon.
Yeah.
at least.
you already don't have time, I just looked at the calendar.
Well, you have to pass it by emergency.
Can I-
You do, because.
I have
Yes,
a-
we have time, but it will
pass
have to be
yeah, you have to
emergency.
pass it by
okay,
emergency.
so I have a proposition, I would never want to discriminate and only say only the 4th, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of July are acceptable for fireworks. So if you're saying Diwali is
Diwali's
New Year's Eve's a big one, New Year's Day is a big one, Cinco de Mayo,
And
Chinese
I
New
would
Year.
say on New Year's Eve, I would much rather them shoot fireworks than guns.
Yeah, no
Yes.
kidding.
100%.
So how about,
That's my
if this were just me, if it were up to me right now, I would say these holidays, according to state law, within a reasonable time frame.
Good, state a time frame.
Yeah, well, yes, we'll state the time frame, provided during the summer holidays that there's not an active drought warning.
Are we missing Eid?
Does that
what's going on
sound
right
like a reasonable starting point to people?
now? Like, that's different than or Diwali, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Diwali is a
I
Hindu
think we're
holiday, isn't
missing
it?
one. I think we're missing Eid.
Diwali is Hindu.
Yeah, Eid is Islamic.
Yeah, we're missing one, unfortunately, because they do fireworks then.
Well,
Yeah.
it has to be what's in the state
That's state
law.
legislature, I can't,
Well,
I have no influence with
that-
that.
can we add one? No?
And can we do it just
I
on
don't
the day,
know.
like
I don't
July
know.
4th?
I
He's
don't
just,
know.
he's just the messenger.
I really, I don't,
Why are
that's
you not in
that
the
is a-
Ohio House
that
and
is a-
Senate chambers?
That is a Jesse question about adding a holiday. I just know that these holidays, according to state law, will be
Yeah.
legal. So if you go out in the county, the unincorporated areas, on these days, you can shoot off fireworks to your heart's content.
I would say we limit it to evening hours or whatever, or, you know, whatever reasonable hours we decide upon, and the summer holidays if there's not a drought.
We may have to put
Other
something-
than that, I would be,
Yeah.
we might put something-
I'd be okay with it, frankly,
Change that as we.
fireworks are gonna happen, I have no intent on criminalizing
Get
people
what they're
for using
leaning
them,
towards
as long as they're not being
before. I know you can't
absurdly
vote on it or do
irresponsible.
anything, but at least get some ideas.
We
So
do
you can
something.
restrict the dates and times a person may discharge, ignite, or explode fireworks purchased pursuant to that section. Or you can ban the discharge, ignition, explosive fireworks purchased pursuant to that section of that.
We're never going to effectively ban fireworks, they're going to do them unless you're sitting in their driveway.
Well, the ban is, you know, where we come in, that's
Right,
why
that's
we,
where they go.
that's why we need the guidance. So I leave it to you guys to work that out with Jesse.
Eric will bring it
and-
up on Saturday,
Okay,
just
'cause-
for like at least the
Gives us all some
introduction.
Yeah.
stuff to think about.
I would say allow them within X hours.
Right, and I know Jason won't be at this Saturday work session, but at least if we get the other five, no, somebody else is not, Jesse's not gonna be there, Mark's not gonna
Mark's
be
not
there,
gonna be there.
Jason's not gonna be there, I'm gonna possibly not be there. I might,
Should we reschedule?
Should we
this?
cancel and
Yeah.
reschedule?
Feels like nobody.
When's the work session?
Saturday.
No, I'm going next weekend, so.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be there.
Yeah,
So, the second thing that I need to bring up is, we have no pooper scooper legislation.
We need it.
We know. We said a lot, we talked about this for a while.
Yeah.
We're looking, we've got
It's disgusting.
we've got a specific issue and
Yeah.
there's,
Can
I'm starting to go on.
can someone tell me
I'm
what
sorry.
this?
We've got some
I know,
weird stuff.
it's a
There's no law
specific
that
area,
says
And
I
I think
know.
it's
What?
just, I think it's just an
Dogs just
oversight
never-
perhaps. Other municipalities do have clean up after your pets.
How do
But
you not know that though?
Antisocial behavior is
It's just, that's why you
rampant.
have to have the law. That's why they had no peeing in public and no spitting in public laws years and years ago, because people used to do it regularly, so. You gotta have them.
And some people do it too
Yeah,
now.
even
Right,
with,
right.
it's just less obvious now.
So,
So you put your
so
hand in
yes, Hoover Scooper law, if you guys could come up with some legislation, that would be helpful for a couple zoning issues that we're having and.
Yes.
I'm gonna be unpopular, that needs to have a serious fine on it.
Yep, I agree.
And,
I don't
It's
think
just-
it's gonna be unpopular.
Five.
So please,
Disease
if you
that
could come up with something
there are
there.
roundworms and
Well,
kids
10
running around.
years in
Yeah,
prison.
and it's runoff and just everything, so,
Yes, correct.
please, if you can come up with some,
Can we talk about that Saturday too?
We'll just bring it up, yeah, because we'll have to just present something from a first reading standpoint. for
Yeah,
the-
that sounds good. Put a nice fine on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Cause that is just
We have
pointlessly.
we do have some people that
Lazy.
just will flat out tell you they're gonna do it, so.
Okay, well, fine them
Well, fine it.
$500. Fine them $1,000
Tell
and
me
see
how
how
you
many times
feel
they
when
do
you
it.
get $1,000 ticket. Yeah, I guarantee you pick that dog poop up next time.
there might be some limitations
Yeah.
on the offense.
They're
just-
misdemeanors, I think.
Yeah, so-
Well, what's the,
But-
what's the
but-
maximum fine for
there-
misdemeanor?
I think it could be
It may
500.
be-
Well, 500.
See,
Okay, so.
But the judge has to,
It
yeah.
might be,
I'm
it
following
might be,
David on this one.
it might be one of those enhanceable charges though, where it's a
Yes.
misdemeanor first time. And if
Yeah.
upon conviction, a second offense will be an M4, but it probably can't go higher.
We're putting you in jail for 6 months.
Because
$50,000.
anything that requires jail time requires some, you gotta have. a
Nobody
state
said
code.
jail time.
Listen, we could
But-
make
but-
national
well, it's just how you
news,
jump
certain
in.
marketing
Service.
opportunities.
Yeah, if you make,
lake cleanup,
there's
no
certain
problem.
restrictions
Community
to
service.
how high a fine
Yeah.
can be per your, there's fine structures.
Well,
Yes.
that is inexcusable in
dollars-
ISO
State-
behavior.
state-
So to get to $1,000 fine, it would have to be a first degree misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Okay, but
And I don't think anybody wants to have the penalty of 6 months in jail for
Yeah.
not cleaning up their
Okay.
dog.
Yeah, it's
But
it's
what if we
deliberate.
charge them in bitcoins and not dollars?
I don't know that is any different than what the state does.
Easy.
Alright, so,
Well,
Just think about it.
any questions about that?
No.
That's what, I need something so that I can help out
Yes,
zoning,
we need
please.
We'll work on that.
Would you like to call Pooper
Max it out,
Scooper
Eric.
legislation?
I just put that down because it was easy to understand and
We all knew exactly
I
where
mean,
you were.
personally, I don't want it called like cost legislation or anything like that.
I'm sure that
but-
there is a legislatively correct terminology for sanitation of some sort. So,
Canine fecal collection.
It's called, well, and it involves more
Okay.
than just the dog, so
That's
it's
what I'm calling it.
generally fecal matter, right? So control your pet type stuff.
and the last thing on my list.
I gotta stop this.
The last thing on my list is,
terrible
we
call.
need to repaint the stop bars.
Yes.
This comes under safety because it's part of the stop sign, and signs and stuff fall under safety, so I figured I would bring this up, cause it was kind of a debate whether it should be on the streets committee or safety committee, but it is part of the stop sign, so, they just need repainted, and that probably comes with some kind of a cost, either if we have maintenance do it, there's gonna be supplies, I don't know if that's the way to go, if that's a proper avenue, or if it's better, easier to have people who paint the stripes on the road with the reflective dust in
Is
it.
there any like legalities around that, since it's a,
The stop bar assists, when we put the stop, here's the problem we were having, people running stop signs left and right in this village. and I recommended that we put stop bars. And it probably reduced our stop sign violations by half. I think that visible representation of that bar on the road, when you come up to it, just, it's psychological, I don't know.
The white line?
Yeah.
It stops people who are running, who aren't paying attention.
Oh,
Right, 'cause they
good.
bring their attention,
Yeah, I'm
not the
putting
people
it
who
in
are
the-
intentionally running stop signs, that's a different matter.
I
But-
didn't know.
Yeah, there are people that just come up and slow down and and just go, you
Yeah.
know, and,
Totally paused.
yeah. And then you pull them over there, I stopped, I'm like, no. you
Does
didn't even come
anybody
close.
have any idea off the top of their head how many stop signs we have? Eric?
Thank you, I do not.
Okay.
Yeah, wrong person.
I have the list from the old section, cause I did it the last time, and then we'll need to add the new section.
We can count them up for you.
So we'll count them. I have the contact because I'm the one that did it the last time, so I will send them an email to get us a quote and then just bring it directly to you guys
Would
for
it be
appropriation.
worth,
Yeah, there'd probably be an appropriation for it.
would it be
Okay.
worth an omnibus bill kind of thing for like pothole patching while we're going through the village?
So we have gotten 2 estimates for pothole patching and I just sent an
Not my
email.
bailiwick.
I sent an email out to someone earlier today to reprice, just get me the service road done to start with, and I'm hoping that they can just respond and get me the service road estimate, because I have a $10,000 estimate and a $6,000 estimate, because they've added in all of this extra stuff that I don't want done. I just want those potholes done.
Okay. Okay, I
So
just
I'm
wondered
here.
if we could, kinda
Nope, I
make some
already
like,
sent-
combination legislation.
Yeah, no, it'll be 2 separate, cause it'll be two separate companies, but I just replied to the person,
Politician.
Yes.
your asphalt people.
Should we make the stop signs more aggressive, like the blinking lights or anything?
We are not putting blinking lights.
Yeah,
What?
we looked into that.
Those
and
were
it was-
expensive.
It was, yeah, it was.
Get a little
cost
solar panel with
prohibitive.
them.
Yeah, so, yeah.
That's why we put
One
them
of the,
red.
one
See
of
if we have
the,
any
one of the
more
worst
tips.
violation locations is the four-way at Farview, but we sit on it quite a bit and we stop a lot of people there. And that was one of the locations that we thought about, what if we just put a flashing light there,
Yeah.
you know, just to kind of get more people's attention, but, the people that slow down and just roll through them they're not gonna stop, and the cost was,
I mean, that was a lot.
and then there was maintenance costs involved as well, so it became
Solar
a
panel?
project that we were just like,
Yes,
What? That sounds like.
at the time, so as we move into our future now with extra money from the TIF, we can all talk about little projects like that.
Yeah, but that's not any.
yeah, that's true, because
Yeah.
finances were much different in
Yep.
2018 than they are now, so.
They've been
That
improved.
is a problem intersection, and once you have the 2 new schools, that's something that honestly, we probably should start looking at now versus later.
Things to
I'm
do.
not
Can we buy
saying
some
we want
secondhand
to put a
ones
traffic
somewhere?
light there, but
Right.
maybe that's,
Next step is the flashers.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely gonna be some need for something there, some sort of
Yeah,
control.
that-
you
Yes,
know?
I don't still think of
That
one
little
light.
center light that flashes red, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah,
but, yeah, so there's, future, he's right there, in future with, especially with, the middle school and the elementary school,
Yeah.
wherever that's gonna be, so,
Many things going on.
yeah. So, that's it, that's all I had.
Roundtable discussion?
She had one question.
Oh, yeah, you
Can
did.
I
yeah,
ask
how,
it?
how worried are we about all these shootings, like,
A mile
You
away?
know,
Like-
I think
are they targeted, do you think?
that, well, the one shooting at Roosters that was personal.
Yeah,
I don't have the details on the second shooting that closed the restaurant. There are always going to be ripples and spikes in crime around the park. And they kind of ebb and flow. It's the big city. I mean, this is Columbus. And,
Second biggest city in the Midwest.
when you try to control things that are happening, like outside of your area, there's very little we can do. We used to have access to all the calls that Columbus was on. it was right there on our cruisers, and we could see their dispatch board. And you could see if they were being dispatched to these things, and, you know, we would kind of head that way a little bit to, you know, because we're gonna respond much faster than they are. And, you know, that was taken away. There was some politics behind that as well, with the sheriff's department and live PD. So,
Forgot about that.
So, I guess I guess the short answer is that, you know, you're gonna see things happen around you. If it becomes consistent, that's when you would be concerned. But we've always had things that happen right down the street here and over here, you know, 161, when you go west of Carl, if you look at the crime maps, you're gonna see that there's stuff happening all around you pretty much all the time.
I also think that's why people are
Two-
keeping that in their mind
Yeah.
as well.
This
When we talk
was,
about
this
safety
was
concerns.
two things and an unrelated third thing within a short amount of time that has brought a lot of attention to what's going on up there. The new chief in Columbus will respond. She's very proactive of addressing crime issues in a reactive manner by putting resources to it. So if there's an
Nice.
issue, that's going on around us, you can expect to start seeing more Columbus cruisers driving around the area.
Yeah,
Until there's not, and then they'll go to some other place and drive around that area. So, and then it's Dawn dishwashing liquid.
It's whack-a-mole.
You know, it's, you put that cruiser in the grease and it all goes to other places. And so you have to put it over there and then it comes back. So, like I said, it ebbs and flows. But like I said, new chief. So far, she's shown that she's very responsive to those crime surges.
I've heard a lot of good things about her from about every Columbus police officer I run into at the hospital.
oh yeah, nice. Yeah, cause there was like, remember with the SWAT team, like last Saturday by the bowling alley, there's like a whole thing, they closed it down from like 4
Yeah,
AM.
that was the shooting that happened over there. in
Yeah, the
Palm
guy that
Springs.
got shot.
Yeah, was that barber shop or was that a different one? That's a whole.
I read the story, it was like 5 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. And I read the story of it happening. I thought that there was some kind of an outreach area over there that had happened in front of, but you're right, it could have been the barber shop as well.
Cause there was like a barber shop incident where a guy was working there for a month and then some guy came in, the barber stepped out at noon and then they were
Yeah,
talking.
that's it. That's the one, yeah.
But and that was the SWAT team situation too?
Yeah, I don't know what,
Cause I thought that was two different.
There was one at 4:03 in the morning,
I don't know, that's like my favorite bakery over there, so I'm very concerned.
Northland.
yeah, and it sounds like that was also a personal thing.
Yeah, it
Not
did.
a, it's the random crime stuff that is the stuff you need to be more concerned about.
Yeah. All these
Okay.
individual ones seem to be kind of like I don't know, just the vibe I got was they're all just kind of targeted one and dones, like, cause they're not shooting second and third and fourth and fifth people.
Well, it's,
Well, that you don't-
it's,
that you
it's,
don't.
I don't like you, you owe me money, give me my money,
No.
you need to get out of here, well, I got a gun.
That's how it happens,
You
and
know.
that's,
Or they punch them and then they go, oh, you're gonna punch me? Boom.
scurry.
They won't make that mistake twice, I guess.
It's horrible.
It's sad that it's a irrational emotional response to a situation. You know, they're under the influence of that passion and they don't,
Yeah.
that fit of rage and they just, they
Well,
act.
but it sounds like things will be addressed appropriately from everything you've described, both from us and from the city of Columbus.
Hope so. I believe so.
Is there anything
I'm
else
gonna go
that
with
we?
positive, I'm gonna go with positive
You
note.
do that. It's the best way to, perspective is everything.
Is there anything else that we need to discuss while we have the chief's ear?
No, I had to think, that's it. I don't remember.
Madam Mayor, you good over there?
I'm good.
All right, well, in that case, I believe we've discussed everything we need to, and I will move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned, seconded by Councilperson Costs.